in the world.
What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. You can call me whatever you want. Welcome to Workbench Wednesday. We're going to continue to try to get the Rocinante back together. I'm missing a motor stator. I put in an order the other night for two actually, but there's plenty of other stuff that needs to get done to that rig. It's almost going to be a full teardown. There's at least one arm that needs to get swapped out, maybe two, and then I'm going to be picking the ESC up to rewire the power source for the Vista, and then the antenna also needs to get replaced. I'm going to take a look at a different capacitor mounting solution. Yeah, a lot to do on the Rocinante, but we'll get it done. Might not get done tonight, but we'll get it done. What else is going on? A little quick mailbag item. This is a Q&A stream, so ask any questions that you've got in the chat there. I found all my stickers from Rampage. We're gonna take a look at those to see who, was cool enough to hook me up with their sticker. That's fun. And I think that's about it. If you want to talk directly to me, all you gotta do in the chat is type CiottiFPV. If you type CiottiFPV and you spell it right into the chat, it'll light up an orange and I'll know that you're talking to me. If you don't, I'll assume you're talking amongst yourselves and I won't read your comment. Speaking of the OBS, really? Already you're failing? In the chat, Grizz FPV was first. Xenakis FPV of the beautiful FPV Exchange was next. No One FPV, Michael D, Northern Tier, CMYK, Chris NL, Chopper, Paul McDonald, Aircon, RC Ritter, Rocky B, Ram Jam, Brandon Woodford, Denzel the Terrible, Ed K, Maggie Schmidt is in the house. How are you, my lovely? Flush FPV, drone ups only. I think I got everybody. What's up, friends? Grizz tagged me and said, how's it going? Michael D says, hello, CiottiFPV, aka Captain James Holden. CMYK says, happy Wednesday. Dropping the Linktree link over on CiottiFPV.com. There's a million ways that you can support me on this absolutely outrageous journey that is trying to do FPV as a full-time job. It takes a village, as they say. For one gangly man to be able to do that. But we have a blast along the way, so I think it's worth it. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com. There's a Fiverr page where you can work directly with me one-on-one. I can help you build your rigs better, build a rig that's specifically catered to what you want, not just like somebody else's rig that works for them and might not work for you. I can help you fly better on the simulator. And then I can also help you tune better by having a discussion about PID tuning, filter tuning, all that good stuff so that your rigs fly as good as they possibly can. Etsy store with a whole bunch of really fun stickers. Look at these fun stickers. Come on. You can't tell me that you don't want a big old Micro King sticker or a Nut Grabber sticker or can't get these anymore. You snoozed. There should be a ton of these still left. Holographic 90s goodness. Clamman's in the house. Come on now. You know you need that reminder to not ever give up. This one is a clear sticker, if you're into that kind of thing. And then the old school logo in holographic, magnet, regular old matte. The new logo in holographic, and I think I have this in regular matte as well. And then a couple of the old logos in wee little size, which fit really good on Fat Sharks or DJI goggles. There's also a whole bunch of like random hardware over there that might help you out on your next micro build. And then there's also a Teespring store which has shirts that are not this one, but CiottiFPV shirts. This is today's shirt from Tommy. Oh my god. Rocky B says, what's up, everyone? Brandon Woodford says, hope you're having a good night. I am now. Denzel the Terrible says, happy hump day to CiottiFPV in the collective. Hey, Dan, I owe you a reply back on the collars. I'm waiting on McConnell Studios to get back to me. These 10mm collars, they work, but they're a little too long, I think. We're trying to figure out the right length, and then I'll send you a... I'll send you the right item. Denzel the Terrible is up in Canada. He wanted a set of these grommets for his HQ Cinesplore ducts, but shipping outside of the US is just insane. It would have been $16 to ship these to Danzilla. It costs less than that to get a bag of 100 of these off of Amazon. So I told him I'm not going to ship these to you because I'm not going to let you pay $16 in shipping for something you could get a whole bunch of. What I did tell him is I'd send him the link to the right item so that he could order 100, and then hopefully he will be the Canadian source for the brass collars. So if you're in Canada and you need 13 of those collars for a set of Cinesplore ducts, you can hit up Danzilla the Terrible, and he will not pay $1 million in shipping to send them to you, but you will cover the shipping, unless he's feeling generous, I guess. No one FPV says, hey mate, did you ever get that little flyaway under control? I'm not sure what little flyaway you're talking about, no one. Tell me more. Booster FPV said, what's CiottiFPV? CiottiFPV is my YouTube handle. I think he meant to say what's up, but I like to answer things as they're typed. What else is going on here? Almac says what's up. Rocky B says, quick question. What would you recommend? I was able to snatch a full, that's what she said, a full set of F40 Pro 4s from Cyclone. 1950 kV, were you really? I'm very jealous. I got in there too late and all they had were 2400 kV. Currently have Zing 2 2207 1855. All up weight is 579, no GoPro. Where's the question, Rocky B? What would you recommend? Is the question, would I recommend the F40 Pro 4s or the Zing 2s? Absolutely F40 Pro 4s. Those are the best 5-inch motors that I've found. I've tested most of them. Yeah, definitely recommend the F40 Pro 4s. I have them on like 4 or 5 different rigs here. Zing 2 2207. So first and foremost, F4 the T-Motor F40 range is a 2306. The T-Motor F60 range is a 2207. So just on stator size alone, I definitely prefer 2306s versus 2207s, which are what Rocky's Zing 2s are. 2306s have a little bit less power, but they have plenty of power. 2207s have a little bit too much power, in my opinion. You're going to spend a lot of time just waiting to come down. They have so much power that they just fire you up into the air, and then and that's fun. Like as a pilot, that's very fun. But for everybody else watching, they're like, "Oh, look, he went full throttle and hurled himself into the air again. Let's wait another 4 seconds for him to come down. Oh, look, he did it again. Oh, look, he did it again. Oh, again, right? Like, so having the smaller, lighter weight motor prevents you from, yeah, just like hanging out up in the clouds where there's not a whole lot going on. A smaller, lighter, less powerful motor is going to give you better throttle resolution, so you're going to literally fly better, especially when you're closer to objects. The better your throttle resolution, the easier it's going to be for you to make small adjustments. 2207, 2208, it has so much power that when you make a small adjustment on the throttle, it's going to make a big adjustment in thrust, right? If you move the throttle 1/10 of a millimeter, on a 2207, that might add 50 grams of thrust, whereas on a 2306, it might only add 30 grams of thrust. So instead of jumping up in the air in that situation, you're going to much more gradually kind of just rise in elevation, and that looks like you kind of did it on purpose. Basically, like, when I look at my flight footage from 2207s or 2208s, it looks like I'm constantly making mistakes. I'm bouncing all around. Yes, you could put a throttle limit to get that under control, but then you're dragging around a motor that's too heavy for no real reason. That's going to make the rig crash worse. It's going to make the PID loop have to work harder because there's more weight on the ends of the arms. That's the worst possible location for extra weight. So yeah, 2306s, you'll find that most professional pilots that are flying rigs under 700 grams are flying 2306s for all of these same reasons. If you're flying a gigantic fat ass 750, 780, 800 gram rig, lighten it up, in my opinion. But if you absolutely refuse to lighten it up, then a 2207 or a 2208 is probably a better choice. but I would still actually use a 2306. We have way too much power on these 5-inch rigs. Like, yeah, it's super fun, but it doesn't make your footage look better. The less power you have, believe it or not, the better your footage is going to look, because you're going to be down on the ground more. You're going to be closer to objects more. And when you're close to objects, that looks really cool. That gives that sense of tension, that like excitement. And again, the less power you have, the easier, literally the easier it is going to be to stay close to those objects. Being closer to objects also gives you a humongous sense of speed. When you're up in the clouds, there's no sense of speed. You could be going 150 miles an hour. You can't tell because clouds are gigantic. If you're going 100 miles an hour down 6 inches off the pavement with a 2306, that's going to look like 10,000 miles an hour because you have a visual reference point as to how fast you're going, right? Good question, brother. Kevin Sumner says, it takes a village. FPV is like a baby, constantly requires attention, piles of money, a really patient partner. Very true, Kevin Sumner. Brandon Woodford says, never give up. Wait, no, that's not Clan Man, that's the goat. My mom is here. Hi, hi, Mom. Susan Ciotti in the chat. Here you go, Brandon.
諦めんなよ。諦めんなお前。どうしてそこでやめるんだ、そこで。もう少し頑張ってみろよ。ダメダメダメ、諦めたら。周りのことを思うよ。応援してる人たちのことを思ってみろって。あともうちょっとのところなんだから。俺だってこのマイナス10度のところ、しじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ。絶対やってみろ。必ず目標達成できる。だからこそ、ネバーギブアップ。
We gotta get that Clan Man song. You can just loop that fucker. Chris NL says, I like the old logo. Well, my ex-wife designed the old logo, so... I don't. CiottiFPV designed the new logo. So, for many reasons, it's the new logo. All the way. Danzilla the Terrible says, no worries, I'm all in. Thank you, brother. No one says that little micro that kept flying away on you the other night. You mean the Tinywhoop? No one? Yeah, we towards the end of the stream we figured it out. Two of the propellers were reversed, and basically that stream was I'm kind of ashamed of that stream because I got really upset. So the beginning of that stream, YouTube fucked up and it kicked me off, and then OBS automatic, and that stream ended, and then OBS and YouTube then created a new stream with the wrong name, and then I had to kill that one. So like there were like 20-25 minutes of technical bullshit, which is really frustrating because like it's already incredibly difficult to live stream, and then when YouTube is useless, it just becomes that much more difficult, and there's nothing you can do. You just stare at it and wait. You know, like for example, if you go to work tomorrow morning and like you just can't get in, like you can't just go home. Like you gotta fucking walk around the building, and like it just sucks, right? Like, and this is my job, and yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. So like I was already in a terrible mood, and then I made a classic mistake that most people actually make, and I talk about all the time, which is to try to troubleshoot problems through software first rather than through the mechanical system, the physical quad. And in doing so, in working through the problem software-wise, I didn't realized that two of the propellers were reversed, and I went into the software and I reversed the rotation of those two motors so that all four motors would produce thrust. Well, when you do that, the rig loses its ability to properly control yaw, but only yaw. It still works from pitch and roll, and that was very confusing. Like that's why it was acting in such a strange way that I'd never seen before, and that's why I kept blaming the gyro, because like typically the gyro, like if nothing else makes sense, typically the gyro has failed. And by the time, for me at least, you know, I have like a troubleshooting path in my head with like 20 or 30 steps that are in a very specific order that I've kind of developed over the last 5.5 years. And yeah, and then, you know, whenever there's something that I can't figure out right away, the chat lights up with a million different seemingly random suggestions. That also kind of frustrates me. That's something that I talk about a lot. Not a lot, but I've mentioned a bunch of times, right? Like, be careful with giving advice that people didn't, like, ask for. Like, I get it. We all want to help other people out, but if you're not absolutely, like, just throwing out random ideas, like, in my opinion, is not the best of ideas. Joshua actually talked about this on his live stream the other day, and I think he's kind of on the other side of this. He was talking about how, like, in Discord, people make suggestions, and he was like, you know, don't not make suggestions. Like, just make suggestions. I actually disagree. Because for me, more often than not, random suggestions waste people's time and they can make the situation a lot worse. Because random suggestions, and I'm just using the word random, it would be better to say, like, not fully locked in, fully thought out, like suggestions, right? By folks that have been around a while, hopefully, right? It just tends to send you on a wild goose chase. And then what can very easily happen is you start making changes in Betaflight and you forget what those changes were. And now when you finally do solve the problem, some of those changes are still sticking around and then they screw you over. And then that makes the troubleshoot even worse. So it's difficult. You know, my philosophy is, like, if I want your guys' help, I'll ask for it. I totally understand why you offer help, and I get it. I'm the same way. We're all like that. We all just want to help out. But, you know, I've been live streaming for over 2 years, and, like, it's just... It just gets harder and harder to, like, stay calm, in general. And so, yeah, like... But, again, I get it, man, and like, I appreciate that you guys want to help. It's just that, like, the other thing that kind of happens is, like, I have this mental flow chart on how to troubleshoot these things. When there's 15 things sitting in the chat, I tend to get derailed from that. And then I start answering chat comments of people that have tagged me, you know, no, that's not the problem. No, it's definitely not that. It's definitely not this. And then I try to get back to my flow chart, and then 4 more pop up. And I'm like, no, it's not that either. Let me tell you why it's not that. And then I get into a whole fucking diatribe as to why, you know, it didn't have to do with, it couldn't possibly have to do with this, that, or the other, because I'm trying to educate. And it, you know, and the other day, I just wanted to get the goddamn thing flying. The whole point was to fly. Like, that was the name of the stream. That was what I was trying to do, was fly. And yeah, I didn't handle it well. I got emailed by someone that unfortunately I don't know. They made 2 suggestions in the chat, and apparently I was very flippant. I'm sure I was, not apparently. I definitely was flippant about them and made them feel like an asshole, and that's unacceptable. You know, like, that's just not a cool thing for me to ever do. And I feel horrible about it. You know, it's. Don't be a live streamer, friends. Don't do this. It's one of the more frustrating things I've done in my entire life. Unfortunately, I'm really good at it, so I'm told. So I'm going to keep doing it. But I would not recommend this as a career path to anyone. It's I mean, just YouTube in general. Just, like, being a YouTuber is a real nightmare in a lot of ways, for me at least. Some people seem to like it. Not many, though. Most people that you think like being a YouTuber, when you actually talk to them behind the scenes about it, they absolutely hate it. Much like most people that are kind of in the public eye or whatever, right? Like, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of suicides, a lot of stuff like that from people that you know, do shit like this. So yeah, be as lenient on us as you possibly can, because yeah, it's super frustrating. One of the analogies that I've used before is like, have you ever been at work and like the new guy or somebody from a different department that's not as good as you at your job comes over and tells you how to do your job? Like, think of how frustrating that is, and now think of that happening every single day. That's what it's like to be a YouTuber, because every single day there are comments and messages and stuff telling you that you were wrong, telling you that you're a shitty pilot, you don't know what you're doing, that, you know, a 2S tinywhoop is perfectly fine to fly around the house. I got just absolutely eviscerated yesterday or today on Facebook because somebody asked a question in a tinywhoop group, is 2S too much to fly inside? And I said, yeah, it's too heavy. And some total asshole is like, no, it's perfectly fine. You don't know what you're talking about. My 10-year-old flies 2S in the house all the time. And I tried to like explain myself, but he's obviously a garbage person and just went after me. And then took it upon himself to make a separate post calling me out by name, linking to my profile, just for, you know, calling me an asshole and all this shit. So, yeah, it put edits up on YouTube. Definitely put edits up on YouTube, but like, don't. I don't know. I hate it. I really hate it. But getting to hang out with you guys is a huge plus, and I will continue to do this for as long as I possibly can until it really negatively affects my mental health, which is always sort of like the point where I'll kind of pull the ripcord. But, you know, it has its moments for right now. It's just unfortunately like the highs are very high, the lows are very low. And you know, I'm also a relatively fragile person, right? Like I have sensory shit. I'm what's called an HSP, a highly sensitive person. And we should not be in a public forum where anybody can shit all over us. It's just not a good fit for us. But there are a lot of other things about doing this that are a good fit for me. So yeah, it's an interesting journey. So yeah, that was a hell of a rant. Rocky B says, that was the question. Thanks for answering. You're certainly welcome. Gardo Rotor says, good evening. Chris NL says, that's a good reason to like the new one more. The new one more. What's the new? Oh, the new logo. Okay. What's your go-to 6S battery? Tattoo, R-Line. This is not the right one. Ignore that. Tattoo R-Line 6S 1050 version 1. They're only $29 if you can find them. They're getting a little hard to find. They're the lightest, they're the cheapest, they don't really sag, they sag less than any of the other options, and yeah, it's just a great battery. It's harder to find now. The current one is the version 4, it's 10 grams heavier, it does sag even less, but I'll take the weight savings. Both of those batteries are only really going to work if you have a lightweight rig. You got to be below 650 grams all up for those batteries to really work well. If you're over 650 grams, you're going to want like a 12 or a 1300 6S typically, but it kind of depends. Battery choice is much like most of the choices that we make on our builds, battery choices are fiercely independent. How much runtime do you want? How much battery sag are you willing to put up with? How much are you willing to spend on a battery, right? So yeah, you got to kind of go through that journey on your own, unless your builds are very similar, and or your flight style is very similar, and or all these other things are very similar. to the person that you're asking that question of. One of the reasons why I really enjoy the Fiverr one-on-one build planning sessions is that I have a big-ass spreadsheet of all these questions that I ask you for usually like 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning of that half an hour or hour-long call. And the answers to those questions are what dial me in on all of these things. How you fly, where you fly, who your favorite pilots are, what are you doing with the footage, all these different things. This helped me target, these things all help me target in on the right battery, the right frame, the right motors, the right GoPro HD camera, the right flight controller, ESC, receiver, video system, all that good stuff. Because it makes a big difference. Like a rig that is specifically dialed in for your exact use, like outperforms a bind and fly or somebody else's rig by a pretty significant margin. The problem is it takes years and years and years and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to put enough time and effort and testing in to figure all that shit out for yourself. At least it did for me. You know, maybe you're just infinitely smarter or whatever than I am, and you can do that in a month. That's great. I highly doubt it. Most people are multiple years in, and they still haven't figured that out. So, yeah, I've spent a lot of time and effort figuring out how to help people get to that point early on so that they can build the same rig over and over and over again that's going to be damn near perfect for their use. And then by having the same identical rig over and over and over again, you have 2 or 3 or 4 of them. That's what really helps you be a better pilot, which is another huge goal for me, is to get you set up on a platform that you can duplicate and just fly the same thing over and over and over again, because that's how you get better as a pilot quick. And that's what everybody wants, right? Everybody wants to be a good pilot quick. One of the worst things you can possibly do for that is for every single one of your rigs to be different. Even if it's just a different set of motors, it doesn't matter. If anything is different between your rigs, you're going to have to develop a completely separate set of muscle memory for each individual one of those rigs. And that's a thing that's going to really prevent you from getting to that sort of next level of pilot skill. It's one of the reasons why I don't use the simulator anymore. The simulator is something that requires a completely separate set of muscle memory, and that's bad. All that being said, if your main interest is not to be the best possible pilot, if you're just in this to have fun, man, what a world that must be. Then who gives a shit? Because it's really fun to fly different rigs. You know, this is all a part of, and this is one of the other questions that I ask people is like, what are you doing? Like, what do you want to do with this? Is this, are you just perfectly content flying for fun, and like how good you are as a pilot doesn't really matter? That's amazing. I wish I could be like that, man. That's like, that is just joy. That is just all happiness all the time. Or is, you know, for me, like the juice, the enjoyment is being good at stuff. You know, that probably is rooted in my upbringing and just my anxiety brain and depression and all this good stuff. But yeah, if you're not like that, then take this all with a grain of salt. Because yeah, flying a different rig is an interesting thing. And there's also like, especially, so the whole like having the same identical rig and just flying the same thing over and over again, realistically, like for your first like year or two, that's not going to make that much of a difference. You could also say like up until a certain point of pilot skills, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Yeah, after, like, how can I say this? This is going to sound bad, but, like, when you become a good enough pilot where, like, a lot of people want to see your footage, that's when it really starts to make a difference. So, like, when you're starting off, there's actually some benefit to flying different stuff because you're trying to figure out what does work for you. If you have a fucking Sherpa that can help you out, like me through the Fiverr sessions, that's kind of cheating. But and some people that I work with, I'll actually recommend that they do 2 different builds. I actually just did this today with somebody I was on the line with. I recommended two different 3-inch frames and actually 2 different 5-inch frames, because the answers that they gave me to all of these questions in a previous session that we had kind of had them in between 2 things. It wasn't. Sometimes I'll be completely dialed in and I'm like, yep, this is the motor for you, this is the rig for you, this is boom, 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 boom. But sometimes there's, typically when it's a newer pilot, and it is in this case, they can't like totally accurately answer some of these questions for me. So I'll kind of set them up with 2 different things. You know, one frame that's a little bit lighter and a little bit more fragile, for example, one frame that's a little bit heavier, stuff like that. And yeah, and then they can go and they can just have 2 different rigs and they crash them a bunch, see which one they, you know, holds up better, see if they don't care how much worse the one holds up, and then they can, you know, kind of choose between the 2. So, so yeah, there's that. Jesus. Brandon Woodford says, 100% with you on all that. I hate misinformation. It turns into a snowball effect of everyone saying one thing and someone saying completely the opposite and wrong thing. Yeah, it's tough, man. This is the misinformation thing is why I pretty much don't spend any time on Facebook anymore. It's my own fault. I should not have been on Facebook to try to answer somebody's question. I know better. I absolutely know better than to spend any time on Facebook. It is just a wasteland of horrible, horrible people. And yeah, I typically don't spend any time on Facebook. I don't know why the hell. I mean, I have to check Facebook every once in a while for messages from you guys and whatnot. And usually when I do that, like my feed will, you know, put something right in front of my face and like I want to help. But not whenever, but 9 times out of 10 that I do try to help on Facebook, people that don't know anything, that are just awful, pile on and you know, say that I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing and that, you know, they know everything, even though, you know, they don't have a YouTube channel and they have like one flight up on their Facebook page where they fly like they have Tourette's and it's just like, you know, you don't know anything. Like, sorry, I know it sounds horrible, but like it's the truth. You don't know shit about shit and you're giving bad info and you're fucking other people's lives up. And I'm just tired of it. Can you tell? I just, and I don't have a solution. You know, my solution is if you don't know shit about shit, don't say anything. But, you know, you can't, I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating though, and it's, my solution is just to never go on Facebook, because it's just a cesspool of hatred and just shitty humans. No one FPV says, don't feel bad about that at all, mate. Like I said in the email, we're good, okay? Oh, no one, I didn't realize that was you. Yeah, it's impossible. Like, I'm bad with names as it is. What makes it like literally impossible is that you guys will have one name on YouTube, another name on Instagram, another name on Facebook, another name in email, another name on Discord. And like I can't remember one name for people. So I apologize, brother. I didn't know it was you. No one FPV says, sorry about here for you, even if I was not. Thanks, dude. Zanakis dropping the link to CiottiFPV.com. Ed K says, sometimes the perspective of the uninitiated will make you think of something new, or something you've forgotten. Very, very, very true. And, you know, that's why the situation is so difficult, right? Because there are fringe cases where the random suggestions come through and work out. But in my experience, that much more often than not, that's not the case. And I'm a numbers guy, so, I always go with kind of statistically what is 51% or better. And in my experience, 51% or better represents a well thought out troubleshooting path, step by step by step by step, in a sequence that I've kind of put together of most commonly things that are most commonly fucked up to least, right? Like this is more. What's really frustrating, was really fucking maddening about the other night is that props being on wrong is the top of that goddamn list. And I put those propellers onto that frame like a month ago. And I put those propellers onto the frame when it didn't have a canopy on it. And without the canopy, a tinywhoop frame, it's kind of symmetrical. There is a little bit of a difference, but it's sometimes I'm an asshole. If you're never an asshole, that's pretty rad. But if you actually think that's true, you should think about that, because I think we're all assholes from time to time, whether we like it or not. For me, unfortunately, when I'm an asshole, it's in front of a shitload of people and it's live on the internet forever. So yeah, it's different, but I don't know. Like I said, I'll keep doing this as long as I possibly can. Zanakis FPV of FPV Exchange, dropping the link to CiottiFPV.com. Thank you, brother. Ed Case, no, we got that. Ernesto says, YouTubers shouldn't take things personal. IMO might be some hater, but more people that are positive. Keep your head up. Ernesto, my God, do I wish it was that easy. My God, do I wish it was that I could just not take things personal. If you're a person that doesn't take things personal, my God, am I jealous of you, man. Oh my God. I've met a couple people in my lifetime, not many, but I've met like 1 or 2 or 3 people that just have this magical thing where they never take anything that anybody says personal, and man, that is like, I would give literally anything. I would give all of this up. I would live in a cardboard box to have that ability. Like I said, I've only ever met a couple of people that have that ability. Most people, kind of talk a big game sort of thing. They'll say like, oh, just don't take it personally, and then they'll go and get pissed off when somebody says something mean to them, right? It's human nature. Like, if someone talks shit about you, to you, whatever, it fucking hurts. And when it happens over and over and over again, it hurts worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the majority of the YouTubers that I can think off the top of my head of over 10 FPV YouTubers that no longer are FPV YouTubers because of this. And these are strong, successful people that you can say all day long, hey, just don't take it personal. It just doesn't work. That's just not a thing. Like, not taking anything personal is a lifelong, hard fucking journey that I've given up on. It's just not who I am. And it's one of the things that, it's one of the reasons that I don't want to be a YouTuber, because like, there are just things about us that are the way that they are, and like, we can pound our heads into them for the rest of our lives and be miserable because we can't fix them, or we can just go, hey, I'm a highly sensitive person. Something about my upbringing or my situation is that. There are other things about myself that are not horrible. Could be worse. I'm okay with it. In the psychology community, this is roughly, it's in the blanket of acceptance, radical acceptance, whatever you want to call it. yeah, there are certain things about yourself that you can change. There are other things that you can't, and it's really important to do a little soul searching and kind of find those things that you can't change, because if you don't, you'll drive yourself literally crazy trying to change them, and it's a bad place to be. And I've been there, and I almost didn't make it out alive. So be careful. Most people don't have mental illness issues quite as severe as I do, so for most people it won't get that bad, but it certainly can, especially as men, right? Like, there's a real mental health crisis with men surrounding depression, anxiety, and ultimately suicide. And nobody talks about it because we're supposed to just tough it out and just be okay with people shitting all over us. But we are human beings, you know. Just because we have a dick doesn't mean that our brains are any less sensitive or emotional. And, you know, the fact that we bury all that shit is real bad, and it can literally take you from this planet. So don't let it. Chris NL says, I'm using Tattoo R-Line V4. Now I'll look for the V1. Yeah, the V4 is a better battery. But yeah, if you're completely insane about weight like I am, yeah, the 10 grams is a nice little weight savings. Chris NL also says, I want to get to the top. I fly the same rig all the time. I have 2 at the moment. It's awesome to have drive. Just be careful with wanting to get to the top, because a lot of the pro pilots, myself included, have had one hell of a head start. So yeah, try to prioritize having fun and being happy with where you're at as a pilot, rather than I have to be the best. Because as a pilot starting out now, if you want to be the best, that's going to be a really hard road. And it's going to be really frustrating, and I see a lot of people quit. So yeah, try to prioritize having fun and being as good as you can, rather than being the best, because quite frankly, you're probably never going to be the best. You know, there's a saying in life that there's always someone better, and goddamn is that true in FPV. What do we got here? Dan636 says, this beer is for you. Thank you, brother. Danzilla Terrible says, I feel attacked. I feel like Tourette's. Kevin Sumner says, have you ever written down the debugging flowchart you keep in your head? I've thought about it. I've thought about doing a Patreon post. The problem is, it's not just one flowchart. Like, the symptom is what puts you onto each individual flowchart. So each individual symptom has its own flow. So in order to, that would be like a month-long project. And then I would give away all my secrets and nobody would have to come and watch my live streams anymore. But yeah, it's not a point A to point B. It's a symptom drives point A, and then at the end of the first thing, that's going to branch one way or the other, and then that's going to branch one way or the other. So not only are there a whole bunch of these flows for each symptom, but within each flow, it's like, do you get 5 motor beeps? Yes, this way. No, this way. Do you get the 3 motor beeps? Yes, this way. No, this way. Do you get any, like, it's just, yeah. The reason that not many people can properly troubleshoot these things, this is the reason that not many people can accurately troubleshoot these things. Because the complexity is just mind-blowing when things start to go wrong. Christ, it's hard enough to build these fucking things when everything is working, right? Like, as soon as something goes wrong, it's just like, good Lord. But some of us have sacrificed our sanity to get to that point, and you guys are cool enough to hang out with us and support us so that we can hopefully return the favor. Kim Fuse is in the house. How are you? She says, I feel you. I got asked over and over on a live stream to justify the pricing of Rampage by a pilot I really admired. He has kind of put me in a funk all week, to be honest. That's super shitty. Wow. That's really shitty. I mean, first and foremost, like, who the fuck is, like, who the hell, why would anyone expect anyone other than a Rotor Riot employee to justify the pricing of Rampage? Like, the fact that person expected you to justify that, like, says a lot about that person and how shitty they kind of are, to be honest. But even to I guess it's fair to ask Rotor Riot to justify the pricing of Rampage, but I kind of don't think it is, because fuck you. If you don't like it, don't fucking go. Like, what in what world? What is this? Like, I just can't wrap my head around the unbelievable, how unbelievably entitled so many people are. Like the fact that anyone thinks that the price of something or the quality of something needs to be justified. Like, what fucking lily white world do you live in? Like, what? Who the fuck? Like, tuck your fucking pinky back in and shut the hell up. Like, really? Nobody needs to justify shit for you. That's your job. You want justification for something? You do the fucking work. You do the goddamn the research. You, like, that shit. Wow. Not to mention that, like, do you see anybody that works at Rotor Riot rocking up in a fucking Ferrari? Christ, the head of Rotor Riot is into fucking ruckus scooters. Like, they're not making any money, right? Like you don't need to look beyond the parking lot of a business to know exactly if they're ripping you off or if they're not. And I don't know, man. People are so fucking out of touch. I hate everyone. Except for you guys and girls. It's yeah. I don't know. People are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's really scary. It's really, really scary how bad people are becoming, right? Like, just bad. People are just becoming bad. Just bad people. Bad humans. Like, come on. Wake the fuck up. Do some goddamn yoga. Brandon Woodford says, "Hey man, I got some social anxiety, depression, PTSD, recovering addict, and I won't go on. Every day is a struggle, man." Brandon, I've got a Facebook group for you. Don't go on Facebook. That's where all the bad people hang out. But if you go on Facebook, I've got a group for you. It's linked over on CiottiFPV.com. It's called FPV Therapy. Yeah, it's a bunch of us that fly FPV that have mental health issues. Also, over on my Discord, there is a Patreon-only channel for it. I hate to put it behind the paywall, but I don't... With mental health stuff here in the U.S., unfortunately, you have to be a little bit careful, because jobs will discriminate against you, and potentially the government will kind of come and get... There's all kinds of terrible shit that comes along with it. So realistically, it's only really safe to keep mental health stuff behind, like, in locked places, right? So the Facebook group, it requires my approval for you to get in, and then the Discord channel is behind the Patreon paywall, just so that everybody's mental health, info is not public. It's the only way I can do it. I hate to have to do it that way, but I promise you, for $3 whole a month, if you join my Patreon, you will get way more than $3 a month's worth of goodness out of it. I swear to God. And if you don't, let me know and I'll refund you. But I guarantee you it's worth 10 cents a day to get email notifications when I live stream, Discord, Facebook notifications, Discord notifications. There's a shitload of tech articles up there to help you troubleshoot stuff. There's audio versions of these live streams. There's just a ton of really good stuff. And yeah, there you go. Confused says, I battle with panic, anxiety, depression as well. A lot of people in FPV do. It's a very... You got to be very smart to be into FPV, and with intelligence comes an overactive brain. And an overactive brain is prone to anxiety and depression and all these wonderful things. But it's... I have been able to work through kind of demonizing these things through lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of talk therapy, meditation, yoga, watching a lot of Healthy Gamer GG on YouTube. If you haven't discovered Healthy Gamer yet, I know it sounds insane, but it will actually change your life. Healthy Gamer GG. If a mod can drop a link, I would love that. It's just a YouTube channel chock full of amazing stuff. I'm gonna let you discover it for yourself. My favorite things on that channel are the 2-hour-long interviews with live streamers. You guys might not connect with that as well because you're not live streamers, but it's pretty similar to like a talk therapy session, and I've done a lot of that over the last 15 years. But yeah, it's a great channel. There are lots of smaller 5, 10, 20-minute clips targeting like specific issues, specific questions. You know, if you're going to be on YouTube, if you're going to be relaxing, if you're going to be distracting yourself from the things that you have to do in life, I love the idea of sprinkling in a Healthy Gamer video, which is going to help you be a better person, be a happier person. And also, if nothing, like, so like I had a really rough day yesterday, right? Tuesdays are my day off because I'm pretty burned after Sunday and Monday. Yesterday I woke up and I was like, oh, this is going to be a bad day. I have enough self-awareness where I can tell pretty quickly whether my brain is going to work with me or against me that day. And part of my self-care is just getting caught up on YouTube, watching a couple of my favorite shows on Prime or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, spending a few hours just detached from reality. But the problem with that is afterwards you can feel really bad about that. You can like, oh, I wasted 3 or 4 hours yesterday. Well, I promise you, if you sprinkle in a couple of Healthy Gamer videos into that, the story that you tell yourself will be, yeah, man, I wasted most of that time, but man, that Dr. K video was fucking great, and I really did learn a lot about that. And just that little tiny shift, and maybe it was just like a 20-minute video, maybe it was a 10-minute video. He has some short ones. That little shift really can change gears, right? Because we tend to be all or nothing. It's either today was great or today was the worst day of my entire life. And if today was the worst day of my entire life, but you have that little fucking glimmer, you can be like, oh, all right. And then it for me at least, it tends to not spiral. So yeah, Healthy Gamer GG is a really big deal. They're also on Discord. They've got a coaching program. If you don't feel like you're ready for talk therapy yet, the Healthy Gamer coaching program, they're basically life coaches. They'll help you a ton. And it's not therapy, so you don't have to, feel like you're crazy or any of the other misconceptions that come with going to talk therapy, which are all bullshit for the record, but I get it. I was of the same mind in my 20s until I went for the first time, and then I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever done. But yeah, there you go. Healthy Gamer GG, I swear to God. It's a really big deal. And it's nice because it's on YouTube, so it's just like here, you just click on it. You're good to go. You learn a little bit something about how your brain works. You feel a little bit less alienated from the rest of society, because my god, there's a lot of people that deal with this shit. WamFPV says, I've noticed that in a lot of my nerdy hobbies, there's this thing where everyone hates everything. No matter what it is, somebody's gonna hate it. Yeah. Yeah. Kim Fuse says, I love you, you're not so wrong, very bad humans. Thanks, Kim. No one says, there's good reason I live basically in the middle of nowhere, lol. Brandon Woodford says, 100% man, I totally understand behind the wall. Bob Knox just said, dropping the link to Patreon. Thank you, dude. Chris NLFPV says, love your point of view of this crazy world. Keep going. Keep going. You're one of my favorite YouTubers. Thanks very much, Chris. Yeah, mental health will make you do that. One of the huge revelations for me over the last year, those of you that are new, the cliff notes are, I was with my ex-wife for 15 years. I thought I was happy. She left a little over a year ago. Not much warning. Previous to that, with the pandemic and everything, depression really grabbed a hold of me. It was one of the reasons she left. She got to see me in a really bad place for a long time. Got over that, and then she left, which the big scary thing at that point was, oh my God, it's going to happen again, and this time I'm not going to make it out alive. Luckily, I said, fuck this, I'm not letting that happen. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Whatever it took was developing a daily yoga practice, daily meditation practice, exercise, sunlight, talk therapy once a week, every week with an extremely expensive talk therapist, no insurance. I was spending almost $600 a month in talk therapy. And a whole bunch of other things, all right? In doing those things, go figure, it worked. And the biggest thing to come out of all that is, and my therapist really leaned hard on this, was just an acceptance of who I am. And an acceptance of the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever. And that is one of the things that mental illness will gift you. That people that do not have that, right? Like red pill, blue pill kind of shit, right? I forget which one is which, but I think it's the blue pill, which is just the whatever. I don't care. Naive kind of attitude, right? I'm just going to be happy and just, I won't, like, I'll see the news about the school shooting and just be like, man, it wasn't me. It's fine. Moving on, right? Whereas, yeah, red pills, to some extent, mental illness. And there are good things that come from it. And you just have to figure out how to deal with those, because they do not initially cooperate. So, yeah, it's been a hell of a ride, and I'm also 41 years old, right? So I've had a lot of time to kind of figure this shit out. But yeah, you just gotta believe in yourself. What a fucking crock of shit. That's a part of it. You got to put in the work. Is really the end all be all. If you put the work in, you're gonna have a better life. If you don't, then you better get lucky, because that's the only thing that's gonna help. And the work is a pain in the ass, and you got to make time for it, and there's gonna be setbacks and there's gonna be frustrations, but it's the only thing. You know, not doing anything is not going to make you any happier, unless magically, you know, somebody sprinkles unicorn dust on your head and gives you a whole bunch of money for free. But for most people, that doesn't happen. So go with what works for most people. And yeah, meditation, yoga, sunlight, exercise, talk therapy, healthy gamer. It's all going to take time, though. That's the constant. You got to be willing to put the time and effort in. There's not there's not a meme in the world that you can read that's going to have any meaningful impact unless you print that fucker out or write it down and look at it every day, time, and then work it, right? So there you go. Brandon Woodford says, thank you, man. You're certainly welcome. Michael D says, I love CiottiFPV streams. To me, it's like we're all just hanging out. Thank you, Ciotti. Thank you, Michael, for appreciating that. It's been a part of the goal from day one, is just a spot for all us to kind of hang out. Anderson says, I don't disagree. It's not a great mental health day week for me, unfortunately, so I'm going to sit this one out. Have a good stream. Terminal Insanity says, I got a Reaper 60 amp ESC Zing 2207 Z-Shot 600 telemetry at very low throttle. They stop-start at fairly predictable intervals. They also sound rather electronic. What? Very low throttle. Sounds really weird. Really weird. Off the top of my head, and where the troubleshoot needs to begin with something like that, go into BL Heli or BL Heli S, reflash, make sure you're putting it onto the, make sure you have the newest version of the configurator. I think that's a BL Heli 32, so you want the brand new, it changed like a couple weeks ago, the brand new version of BL Heli 32 configurator, and you want to make sure that you're going onto 32.9, I believe it is. And then in Betaflight, you want to make sure that everything is set properly between like bidirectional D-shot and stuff like that. So just redo all that. And then you want to look at the motor the motor sliders. The motor sliders take the PID loop out of the equation. So if you go into the motor sliders with your props off and it's still doing this behavior, I think the ESC is blown up. If it's not doing that same behavior, then the problem lies with your PID loop or the filtering, but I really doubt it. So there's where that troubleshoot needs to begin. Chris NL says, I battle depression and anxiety as well. Sucks, but FPV sure does make it better. FPV can definitely help. One of the misconceptions about the Facebook group that I have called FPV Therapy is that it's a spot to just dump your flight edits and say, hey, I was feeling sad today, but I went out and flew and it made me happy. Here's me flying. That's not what the group is at all. The group is there for, hey guys, I tried to kill myself last month, help. Stuff like that. People that post edits in the group, I just delete them. It's just not a group for that. And I always want you, I want you guys to really understand that mental health shit is really serious and you need to deal with it like that. And just getting out and flying is like an hour-long distraction, but it's going to come right the hell back. So don't let FPV become your therapy, because it's not going to fix anything. It's just a temporary distraction. If you have mental health shit going on, talk to somebody. There are plenty of life coaches and therapists that don't charge a lot of money. If you have healthcare, you can get a really good talk therapist for $5-10 a month usually. Even if it's $20 a month, even if it's $600 a month, I would not be alive if it weren't for it. Isn't that worth it? Who gives a shit what it costs? Your body can't live without your brain, yo. Healthcare is great, but your brain is what's calling the shots. So careful. We're in the world is in a strange place, and it ain't gonna get better, I don't think. So just be careful. Zanaka says, congrats, man, on your work of success. Great job, man. Thank you, brother. Athix says, ego work, too. Yeah, ego work comes along with all of that, typically. This is one of the great things about working with a trained talk therapist, is that they will figure out very quickly, do you have a problem with a number of different things, right? Is your ego the issue? Is a lot of cases they can even like tap into like your health. Like if your diet is the issue, they'll be able to get in touch with that shit. They're doctors. Lennon says, I second that tonight. This makes me feel great seeing people improve their well-being, fighting off the evil. Great job, everybody. Hell yeah, Lennon. M2K says, this channel is my dose of sanity in life and FPV. So much noise and hype out there. Thanks for all you do, bro. Turning 40 tomorrow. I've been freaking out a bit all week. LOL. There's not a single good thing I can say about turning 40, M2K. Other than nothing you can do about it. It's my 40s have been rough, but hey, what are we gonna do? There's nothing we can do. Just, you know, you're a year wiser. There you go. Time for you guys to check out my mailbag. I did a little pyro drone order, and they have this battery. This is a Tattoo R-Line 4S 1050 version 1. So this is just the 4S version of the 1050 that I run on all my freestyle rigs. And this is going to be my slightly longer runtime on the Cinewhoops battery. I've built the FPV cycle Cinesplores that I fly for commercial work around a 4S 850 mAh battery, which is 102.5 grams. This is the GNB. You can get a 3-pack of these really cheap on RDQ. They come with the RDQ label, but there's the same thing. There's a great battery. If I don't have to cover a lot of ground, I will get over 5 minutes on the Cinesplores with this battery. And at 5 minutes, the GoPro chops the file up, which is a pain in the ass when you're running files through real steady. So in most cases, this battery is absolutely perfect. Where this battery falls down is if you're nose down trying to go 20, 30 miles an hour with a Cinesplore. Any Cinewhoop hates doing that because they have the aerodynamics of a fucking sheet of poster board. This battery is for those situations. Here, realistically, with a lightweight Cinesplore build, let me give you guys a little secret. Coming soon. Shh. I'll say it quieter to emphasize that you want to keep this to yourselves. Coming soon. I can't do it. Coming soon on FPVKnowItAll.com, Joshua Bardwell's channel, is so I worked for about a month or so on the tinywhoop section of his page. We've been working on a Cinewhoop section of his page. My Cinesplore build is all broken down there, and there's also just a shitload of really good info on there. I wrote like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph of like lightweight versus heavyweight, different prop sizes, ducks versus guards, all kinds of good stuff is coming. So if you want to mimic my Cinesplore builds, you're going to have a shopping list. I mean, realistically, down below in my description, my own affiliate links are down there to most of the stuff. But realistically, here are the 4 batteries, the 4 best batteries for my specific Cinesplore build. So this guy, so we'll go smallest to biggest. The smallest battery that I would run on it is this GNB yellow label 700 mAh 4S, which is 87.2 grams. Next step up is the 4S 850 by GNB, which is 102.5 grams. Jesus. Then there's the GNB yellow label 900, which is actually a little bit lighter. The yellow label batteries are newer and they're a little bit lighter. These are the old school batteries, but they're cheaper and they work beautifully. The 900 is 99.5 grams. And then this Tattoo R-Line 1050 is, I haven't actually weighed it yet, 119.5 grams. So basically for me, because I have a ton of these because they were cheap. I'm going from, I'm not going from, but when I need to fly a longer or faster, yeah, I'm going to be picking up, I'm going from 102.5 to 119.5. So 17 grams of extra weight, which is significant, but when you're going fast like that, it's a lot less noticeable. So there you go. That was the really quick mailbag that I wanted to do here today. But yeah, these are the good batteries that I've found for either Cinewhoops, or I also really love these batteries on the Squeaks. 3-inch rig, 3.5-inch rig. These two GNB yellow label batteries are awesome. A 3-inch rig, I would go with the 700. 3.5-inch rig, I would go with the 900. Or if you want to get a whole bunch of them cheap, the 850s are great. They're just old school. These are old school batteries. The yellow labels are a lot newer. This R-Line 1050, I would only really ever use this on a Cinewhoop. I would not put this onto a any kind of like a 3 or 3.5-inch freestyle rig. Maybe a 4-inch rig, I guess. But yeah. Ricardo Ferreria, the man with the last name that I mispronounce over and over and over again, says, sorry for this little rant, but why is YouTube so aggressive with ads? You guys shouldn't have any ads. I've turned off monetization on all of these live streams because the amount of extra money that I made from it was not enough to offset just you guys having to watch more ads on YouTube. So you shouldn't be getting ads, but I've done what I can. If you're getting ads, there's nothing I can do about it. News Ins is in the house. Hope you're well, sir. I certainly am. Hope you are as well. Veritas Weasel says, a company emailed employees asking us to turn in any women that recently lost a baby, as they might be dangerous. They announced they were hosting SWAT for active shooter practice. Did this happen just now? What the hell? I feel insulted that anyone would demonize someone losing a loved one, let alone a woman recently losing a child. So for their active shooter practice, I volunteered as the active shooter. Oh, I read that wrong. Wow. Wow. And right there, my friends, is one of the many problems with capitalism. Giving corporations carte blanche to make the rules and do whatever the hell they want is just an awful idea. Just awful. Because corporations can justify anything. Because it's just business. We fired everybody that we don't like because that's business. It's fine. We fired all the black people. It's just business. It's business. They're lazy. Oh my god. I don't know. It's just bad, man. Oh, come on, OBS. Check it out. I met lots of people at Rampage, and a bunch of them gave me stickers. And we're going to go through them. I found this sitting on the table, so I took it. Myopic FPV. Flying Brian was in the house. Look at that. The Rasta colors from Flying Brian. And the black and red as well. There's another little bit of Myopic. Ooh, even more Myopic. Look at that. Pokey FPV was in the house. Pokey FPV is who designed the little randomizer that I use for the giveaways every other Monday. So that was super cool to get to meet him, and his logo is just absolutely fantastic. D-Strux was in the house. Got to meet him as well. Super cool cat. Happy FPV was there, hanging out in Micro Mayhem for a while. I forget who this is. I forget whose logo this is. MFR. Also in the house, another one of these. It's a great logo. I don't know who it is. And then a little bit more Happy FPV. There you guys go. I was about to put these. I have a little area that I keep all my stickers, and I was about to put them in there, and I was like, no, Ilbro. That's who it is. It's Ilbro. Thank you, Newsins. Michael D says, have you been able to pick up a Mo Beetle 6 yet? I have not. I tried to order one from RDQ, and it went out of stock while it was in my cart, and nobody has had them in. Have you guys seen them anywhere else? Mo Beetle Happy model. I just keep Google searching it, but the problem is Google doesn't index constantly. So chances are somebody's going to get it in stock, and I'm not going to see. Yeah, it's still out of stock on RDQ. I don't think Pyro Drone is selling Happy Model stuff anymore. So at that point, my only hope is Get FPV, but they've been really busy redoing their website, and I haven't seen many new products on there. Shout out to Brain 3D as usual, my newest sponsor. They just make the best 3D printed stuff in the whole wide world. This coming Monday, speaking of Brain 3D, this coming Monday in my giveaways, there's going to be a Brain 3D sponsored giveaway, which is a RunCam thumb. How about that? Isn't that rad? I was gonna do this giveaway the previous Monday, but then I was like, no, I want to make some content with it first, and then I'll give it away. And then I realized two things. I realized that it doesn't have a battery built in, so I would have to like solder to a quad. And I also realized that there's absolutely no chance that I wouldn't destroy it, and then I wouldn't be able to give it away. So I've decided that it was sent to me for a giveaway, so I was like, oh no, I can record a little bit with it and then give it away. But it's just realistically, it's just not going to happen. So yeah. Newsend says Ilbro's the eyes. Yarb says the eyes logo is Ilbro. No One FPV says if you think that's bad, have you seen the details on the new WHO treaty that turns over government control of participating nations to the WHO, usurping national governments in times of pandemic? What could go wrong? Tuner Taxi says, did you get a chance to try that helical antenna? I got to meet and hang out with Tuner Taxi as well a bunch. I did not, mainly because I don't like fly anymore. It doesn't fit. So one of the dirty little secrets of SMA, RPSMA connections is that they get very dirty and they wear out. So one of the best things that you can do to keep that from happening is to not remove and install SMA antennas over and over and over and over and over again. So for me, what that meant is figuring out an antenna setup for my Fat Sharks that would fit in my bag. And what that ended up being is a 45 degree and a nice flat Menace RC patch. And then the True RC Singularity long, which I can just turn to the side and bend, and then my goggles fit in there. So that helical Tuner Taxi, I can't leave on my goggles, so it just like hangs out. And I'm pretty lazy. Like if I pull the goggles out and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna change anything on them. If I ever do long range, I will probably think to use that helical antenna. But yeah, I mean, like I haven't flown since Rampage. I don't fly much anymore, to be totally honest. It's live streams, it's trying to book gigs, it's editing, it's chasing people around for money. It's all these things that are running your own business, being a freelancer, whatever. There tends to not be much, if any, extra time to fly for fun or just even fly for testing or flying for content. So yeah, but that's fine because, like, to be totally honest, I've flown thousands and thousands of hours of freestyle, and it's not as fun as it used to be. I have more fun flying on gigs than I do flying for fun. So yeah, I just, it's all about just trying to book more gigs for me. That's like job number one, which is cool because that helps me to, you know, be able to keep the lights on up in here and eat. But yeah, I appreciate it. Tuna, just in case you guys are wondering, this is a particularly brilliant kind of thing that Tuner Taxi designed, in my opinion at least. So, come on, OBS, you're fucking killing me with this. So he's got he takes a newbie drone. There it is. He takes a newbie drone patch and then 3D prints this helical thingy, and then yeah, so there it is. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but right in here he solders up what I'm assuming is a tuned length of wire, and then runs it through the 3D printed thing to make to turn a little patch into a helical, which is really, really, really cool, especially if you're doing long-rangey kind of stuff. And yeah, he very kindly gave this to me, and yeah, I used it in Micro Mayhem, but the multi-pathing is so bad in there that I didn't notice any difference. Of what I know of those is that they're pretty specifically for long-range shenanigans, which I don't typically do, but I do want to get a little bit more into it. I have the Cineglide, which swings 5.5-inch propellers, so I mean that'll do long-rangey-ish things, sort of, not really, but yeah. I'm looking forward to using it. I just, it's just hard. I've got so much stuff that, like, I'm dying to test. I must have 50 different sets of propellers that I'm just dying to test out and do little prop reviews of. I've got like 13 micro frames that were either sent to me by people or I've bought that still need to be built. It's crazy how backed up I am. I'm hoping that I can get caught up. I don't know. I've had that hope for many years now, though. Chris NL misspelled CiottiFPV, but I just happened to see it. He says, I got a Mobula 6 with the 25,000 kV motors. Haven't had a chance to fly it yet. I'm sure I'll love it. Chris, if you've been flying for a long time, you might be able to handle those motors, and especially if you're a better pilot than I am. If you're not as good of a pilot as I am, you're probably going to need to put a throttle scale, not a throttle scale, a throttle curve on those by adding a little bit of throttle expo. It's in your rates tab, and a good round number to start with. Here, I can't even... I'm having a hard time thinking what the two fields are called off the top of my head, and I don't want to tell you the wrong thing, so let me just plug in and I'll share my screen and I'll show you. This is actually good. I'm going to show you guys how to test how healthy your motors are, because that's why I put this rig in the little on deck circle here. So here it is, rate profile settings. Am I showing the right screen? Sure am. Rate profile settings, here it is, throttle mid and throttle expo. So here in throttle expo, start off with 0.3. That's a good round number. As this number goes up, you'll see the curve. See the curve down on the bottom of the screen increasing? That is way too much there. 0.3 is a pretty good value. It's going to give you a nice curve here. And then for the midpoint, my guess is going to be 35. But the way to dial in, the midpoint is different for everyone. the midpoint is basically your cruising throttle. It's not your hover throttle. When you fly a tinywhoop, you don't just hover it the whole time, right? You fly forward. At a hover, you're going to be at like 25% throttle. Cruising forward, you're going to be at like 30, 35, maybe 40% throttle. That's your cruising forward is what you want to set that midpoint at. It's easy. Go into your OSD and add throttle position to the OSD, and that'll give you a live readout of exactly where your throttle is. So then you go and you fly around in whatever spot you normally fly your tinywhoop. And you record your DVR, and then you watch the DVR back, and you just stare at the throttle percentage. And throughout the course of a battery or two, with your average flying, you're going to be like, okay, I'm usually at 35 or 40 or 25 or 30% throttle. And then that's what you put in as your midpoint. And then for that throttle expo, now that your midpoint is set, you can move this expo up and down to see what you prefer. I think I have this all the way up at like 0.5 on those Happy Model 25,000 kV motors, just because they're very twitchy. Like as you increase throttle with those motors, there's a point where they just like kind of make all the power, and the rig sort of jumps up. So yeah, there you go. That's how you set those two. If you're curious on how to tell how healthy your motors are, here's how you do it. You plug in. This has nothing to do with anything we were just talking about. This is just something I wanted to get done today. So this is the cinematic glide with the dead cat arms, still on analog because analog for life. You plug it into USB to get it linked up to Betaflight, and then you plug your battery in. I'm going to plug in the motors tab. So this rig has 2400 kV motors on it, and I have it on a throttle limit to run 6S with all my other stuff. I did that because if at some point I want this rig to be prop guarded, I can put 4-inch propellers on here, run it on 6S, crank the motor limiting up to 100%, and get a ton of RPM on 4-inch propellers, and then run a prop guard on here. But in the motors tab, it bypasses your throttle limiting. So instead of hooking up a 6S battery, because these are 2400 kV motors, and I don't want the throttle tab the motor tab to go bananas, I'm gonna plug in a 4S battery. The trick is finding one with any charge in it. What are you? Oh God, this is fully charged, and it's just been sitting there. This battery's ruined. So yeah, if these were a 6S kV motor, it wouldn't be an issue, but they're not. So then you come into your motors tab, you make sure your props are off, and you hit this switch that says I understand the risks, and the propellers are removed. Then you take your non-mousing hand and you put it on the quad because you want to feel the vibrations. What we're feeling for is vibrations. You can pick it up a little bit, or you can leave it on the desk. It doesn't really matter. I do it differently every time. And then you come in here to your motor tab, and one by one, you ramp the motors up. You can ramp them up to full, but none of the vibrations really happen up towards full throttle. All the vibrations happen in the 1300 range. Give you guys a little bit of a close-up here. I'm going to show you right where all the vibrations happen. Right around here. In the 1300s. And what you're feeling for is how many vibrations motor 1 has. Then you go to motor 2. And you feel for how many vibes that one's got. Then you go to motor 3. You can also kind of hear it, and then you go to motor 4. And what you're looking for is there one motor that's noticeably more vibey than one of the others? As you crash, you tend to hit the front motors more often, and then you tend to hit one side more often. And yeah, what you're trying to figure out is, do you have a motor that's kind of banged up? And in my case, motor 3 is... Motor 3 is not super happy. None of them are all that bad. For you, like, so I've been doing this little test for many, many years. One of the other tests is to ramp all 4 of them up. Because then you'll kind of feel, sometimes there'll be like a specific frequency that all 4 of them start to kind of like jive off of one another, and it's hard to explain, but yeah, that's how you do it. For you guys, it's going to be harder because you haven't been doing that little test for years and years and years. But again, if one of those 4 motors is vibrating a lot harder than the others, replace it. Nice and simple. When you replace it, or every single time you build a brand new rig, do that test, because that's going to build your baseline for how smooth a motor can possibly be. And then as you do that over and over and over and over again, you're just going to know. You're just going to be able to do this test, and you're going to be like, whoa, that's vibrating really hard. Something is nasty with all 4 motors. Because like if you fly a rig for long enough, all 4 motors can be equally horrible. So like this whole, look for one motor that's worse thing, that usually works, but not always. So yeah, there you go. That's how to check if your motors are healthy. I actually have a short here on the channel that I did with all that info. I should have a playlist for my shorts. That's a weird sentence. That you can check out. But yeah, that's basically what it is. Spin each motor up individually and keep a hand on the quad. You're also going to hear it, and you can sometimes even see it. If you look at the top of the motor shaft, you'll see it at certain RPMs start to like wiggle. That's a bent motor shaft. That's the thing that most commonly fails. I'm getting behind on chat. No one FPV says it also creates a global passport ID system. Sound familiar to an old concept. Jesus. Athix says I found my YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up. Come on. Wow, I'm way behind. All right, I gotta go fast. Wait, no, I scrolled right past it. Where the hell was I? There it is. Athix says, I found my NASA sticker thanks to CinesFPV. Very cool. The NASA stickers went out of stock on my Etsy store a long time ago, so now they're like coveted. Brandon's Baked Beans says, what about some good old dielectric grease on the SMA connectors to keep oxygen away from the metals? Electrical connections usually work fine, though, when it's tightened down. That's a really interesting idea, Brandon. I don't know what fails on the SMAs, but I remember Menace RC put out a video years and years and years ago talking about this problem with SMA connectors. And so, yeah. I've never heard of anybody like trying to fix it, though. I assume it would be hard to fix because it only happens after a ton of loosenings and tightenings. Zanakis says, CiottiFPV and Garter Rotor want me to order some. I've been speaking with Happy Model during the stream, actually, for the Diamond F4. I would rather just get the Diamond F4. Maybe. I don't like the motors that are on the Mobeetle. They're too low of a KV, so the motors are kind of worthless. The canopy is interesting, but it's just a 3D printed canopy. The frame is absolutely awful. Happy Model frames are terrible, other than the V4 Mob 7 frame. That's actually really good. But their 65mm frames are just goddamn awful. I would rather just get the Diamond F4. I don't really have much use for the Mo Beetle. The whole tiny little toothpick thing is interesting, but I can't fly that around that house. You know, that's for outside, and I fly bigger stuff outside. So I would rather just have the Diamond F4, to be honest. Brandon's Baked Bean says, need to get into long range cinematic and you'll find freestyle is fun again. Need to mix it up a little. I do plan on it. I don't get up into the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains all that often, but I want to. If I ever get the Miata back, I will definitely look more into long range stuff because, and to be honest, now that the 2 has a functioning set of coilovers that aren't that the valving's not blown to shit, I will probably make it up into the mountains a little bit more to embarrass expensive cars. And yeah, that's when I'll be doing more long rangey stuff. So it's coming. It's coming. Just not for a little bit. This car stuff is expensive. Ricardo says, I'm making a XT60 XT30 cable to charge my 2S lipos. Can I wire with 18? It's under 1 amp. Wire gauge isn't too thin, right? Won't be a problem right now. You're fine. You're fine, Ricardo. Charging is always, 1 amp, 2 amps, 3 amps. Versus on our rigs, we're pulling 50 amps, 60 amps, 100 amps. So yeah, you'll be totally cool. You could actually go quite a bit smaller than 18 gauge, I'll bet. My throat's starting to really hurt. Brandon's Baked Beans does Throttle Expo the exact same way. As you guys saw from this 5-inch cinematic rig, I actually have been putting Throttle Expo onto damn near everything. Not a lot of it, but yeah, I really like Throttle Expo. It's a really nice thing, and it really allows you to change elevation in inches rather than feet. Chris Hennell says, thanks for this information because you're better than me. I'm not better than anybody, Chris. I'm just different. That's all. Nobody's better than anybody else. Jesus Christ, there's an extravaganza of super chats. Bob Noxious RX with a $13 super chat. He says, need to round that number up, my dude. Sony PS5 fund is going to go from 107 to 120. Thank you very much, Bob. Very, very cool of you. Still pissed that we couldn't fly together yesterday, but yeah, it's my life sometimes. Xenakis FPV with a 1625 super chat. He says chaos. I'm assuming that means he wants it to go in here. There we go. Maximum awful. Kevin Sumner with a 1375 super chat. He says order. I see what you guys are doing here. Christ. 3 goes to 4, goes to 5, 0. I think that's right. Tuner Taxi with a $2 super chat. He's going for chaos, 152. Yo, it is hotter than a motherfucker. What? Oh, I turned the air conditioning off. Oh, I'm a big dumb man. Good Lord, it's 76 degrees in here. It was raining before. It got nice and cool out. Woo! Ah! Ah! It's fine. Everything's fine. My throat's starting to go, yo. Yarbs with a 690 super chat. He says flesh. 690 is close enough to 7 that I'm going to round it up. I think that's the way math works, right? Thank you, fellas. Bob Noxious, Xenakis, Kevin Sumner, Tuner Taxi, and Yarbs. You guys are... What can I say nice about you guys? You guys are both gentlemen and scholars. Michael D says, not a fan of the new Diamond F4 ELRS. It uses a dumb copper wire for both the VTX and the ELRS antennas. I am, like, horrified by that. I don't know. It is lighter weight, though, so I do want to give one a try. But, man, what the hell? Happy model. What are you doing? What is this? 2019? I don't know. I'm just happy that my ceramic antennaed F4 ELRS AIO is not blown up. Fine with that. Ramdago says wasn't sure about those two antennas. Yeah, it's terrible. It's the fact that they did that is just like unforgivable. But it's lighter, and it's got that spot. What I really like about it is that it's got the cutout in the front. You can sink the camera down there with the right TPU camera mount, and that's pretty cool. I really do dig that. So we'll see. But man, what a missed opportunity. I mean, they had the opportunity to make the best tinywhoop AIO, full stop, and they fucked it up. So I don't know. I don't understand how nobody can ever get anything fully right. Everybody always has to half-ass something. But I digress. Man, we didn't get anything done that I said we were gonna get done. Let me. I'm actually gonna shift the name of the stream title a little bit. Mental health discussion. That works. That's fine. No. I'm gonna use the word rant. Mental health. Ranting. There we go. Let me give my voice a little bit of a rest, and I'm gonna do a little bit of work on this on the Rocinante. Tuna Taxi says need a 1 to 2S AIO recommendation. Newbie Drone, Acro B V3 is good. I like it. They just sent me. They just recently sent me a secret one that I'm looking forward to building. I think it might have Crossfire on it. I'm not sure though. But yeah, I got to get this into a little build. My I was all hot and heavy on the tinywhoop stuff, and then and then it stopped, and I feel bad, but yeah, I gotta get back into it. Oh god, I almost threw up. I gotta get back into it. It's hard to balance, man. It's like, yeah, it's hard to balance. As with all things in life, balance is the key to all that is good. But it is very difficult. Very, very difficult. So this rig is good to go. I'm going to put this back on the wall, and it'll get used sooner than later. This is one of the analog holdouts. I wonder if this will get DJI at some point. It is a cinematic rig, and I am really starting to lean towards going fully DJI on all of the cinematic stuff. I'm still very torn on freestyle, but for cinematic, my God, is DJI nice. That being said, I flew almost all analog at the UGA University of Georgia gig on Monday, mainly just because the Cinesplore with the tall Cloud 149 ducts was the I was flying around people. And so that was the rig that I wanted to use. Plus the well, you know what? Nowhere in the stream title did I talk about which Rampage repairs I was gonna do. And as it turns out, I went to put this rig up in the air. This is the one that I slammed really hard at Rampage. And broke one of the CiottiFPV HQ ducts. this thing has got a problem. There's something going on with this. So we're going to test the motors because that's the starting point. So symptoms of this are hot motors and an angry PID tune. And the PID tune was not angry before Rampage. So, you know, the flying that I did at Rampage and, you know, a big fucking crash is more than likely the problem. That is something that will do physical damage. And so the first thing that we want to check is the rotating assembly, which is the motors. These are fresh 3520 gem fan props. So very, very, very little, little chance that the props are the problem. So we're gonna, I mean, there's really not a great way of checking the balance of the props anyway. Basically, you just put a fresh set on and see if it's any better. This is a fresh set of props though, so these props are probably not the problem. These Gemfan 3520s I've actually flown a lot, and I know them to be a very well balanced propeller. So yeah, very low chance that the propeller is the issue, which leads us to the motors or the arms. So it's more than likely going to be a bent motor shaft or a delaminated arm. It's not a broken arm. Broken arms you can feel. You grab the rig on diagonal corners, you put your thumbs in the middle, and you bend the arms down like this, and if there's a broken arm, you'll feel it. One of the two arms will be more bendy than the others. And in this case, there is not a broken arm. There could be a delaminated arm. Before an arm, if you don't hit an arm hard enough to break it, you can delaminate the layers of carbon. And a delaminated arm is a lot harder to feel in that little exercise that I just showed you than a broken arm. The key to finding a delaminated arm is to twist the arm. In the twist, the twisting direction is where these carbon fiber arms are the weakest. So it's the easiest way to kind of find a delamination. So you do a similar kind of thing. You grab it on opposing corners, and you just kind of twist it. You use the motor bell to torque and just twist the arm in either direction. And it's the same deal. You're feeling for one arm that is twisting more than another. And in this case, I do not feel a difference between 4 of the arms. This is also assuming that all 4 arms aren't wrecked. If you've somehow managed to delaminate all 4 arms, then they're all going to feel the same. But that's pretty rare. So now we're going to check the motors in the same way that we did a minute ago. So let's plug in. After we check the motors, if they're not the problem, we can continue the troubleshoot. But motors, especially after a big crash, like what happened to this rig, are the most likely culprit here, basically. So let's get first off, let me get this plugged in real quick here. All right, good. Do I have a charged 4S850? I think I do. 1 second, friends. Is this one charged? 16.4, it's charged. Alright, so we're going to use this battery. Oh, this one's charged too, so I'm going to hook a little discharger up to this. Coming back, I swear to God. Hold on. Coming. Okay. Alright, here we go. Plug it in the battery. And firing up Betaflight. And we're going to connect. Come here to motors. And props are off, so we're good. And one hand on the rig. Let's see. Again, all the action is going to happen in the 1300s. Motor 1 feels pretty good. Motor 2 feels great. There's your problem. It's not that bad, though. Motor 3 is definitely worse than the rest, but it's not that bad. Motor 4 is amazingly clean. Yeah, Motor 3 is the problem. So here's the deal. This is a cinematic. This is a cinematic. This is a Cinewhoop. Jesus. With a Cinewhoop, the aerodynamics and the flight characteristics are just awful. One of the things that helps is to really get aggressive with the PID tune. And that's what I've done in this case. That motor is barely banged up. But it's causing the PID loop to just lose its mind. This is a pretty aggressive PID tune here, especially considering that this is a pretty powerful Cinewhoop, all things considered. Especially with how light it is. Why is it on profile 2? Well, that's a part of the problem. Profile 2 is a lot more aggressive than profile 1. I know why it's on profile 2. I think I was doing a slider. Yeah, I was doing a slider tune. Profile 2 is a slider tune. Profile 1 is not. I'll bet. Yeah, profile 1 is not a slider tune. So that's the deal. I was playing around with the sliders to get an aggressive tune on this thing, and I did. And this aggressive tune here on profile 2 is totally fine when the motors are completely fresh. It's less than fine when one of the motors is banged up, which is the situation that I'm in here. So I can either pull this tune down, and the rig will fly not quite as good, but I won't have to change the motor. So that, for example, if I'm out on a shoot, that's what I would do, because it's not super professional to be fucking soldering on a new motor in the field, right? But since I'm here and I should have an extra motor, I'm gonna fix it the right way. If I have an extra motor. So these are the, of course, these are the Newbie Drone prototype motors that they sent me with the higher KV. I know that they sent me 5 of them. The question is, where's the 5th one? Hey, this is my motor box. I try to keep one of every single motor that I run in this little box. In theory, I would have put the extra motor in my flight bag so that I had it with me in case I needed it. Let's test that theory. Alright, let's take a look. Do I have... Hey! There it is. I can already see it. So I now don't have any extra of these 3000 kV prototype Newbie Drone 2004s, but that's okay because I'm actually moving away from these motors. I put these motors onto this rig to test them, and they worked really well, so I just left them on there. But it's not a motor that that I was planning to stay with. Although it's totally fine. It's a great motor. But yeah, the My Cinesplores are going to be moved over to FPV Cycle 2104s, which are on their way. They might even be there by now, to Bob. And I'm really excited about that because he ordered them for us, me and you guys, in a higher KV, in 3500 KV. And that's the right KV for 4S on these lightweight Cinewhoops. So yeah, that's super exciting. The fact that it's got that extra, that it's 21 instead of 20, whatever. It's fine. Not a bad thing, not a good thing. It's a nice lightweight motor, and it's got the KV that we need. So that's so much excite, as the cool kids used to say. They probably don't anymore. Let me wipe out this black box. Erase flash. I don't still have this plugged into power, do I? Nope. All right, cool. Yeah. Erase data flash. What's up, chat? Michael D says, DJI, what about Fat Snail? Mayan Hawk says, have you gotten a chance to try out that soldering putty? I'm waiting to pull the trigger, get some for myself. I have not, Mayan. I have not had a... Oh, did I leave it at Maggie's? Damn it. I left it at Maggie's. Yeah, I have not had a chance to use it yet, but I will when I fix the Rossi. But I gotta grab it from her house next time I'm there, which should be this weekend. So I should have it back home. I don't really build when I'm there because I don't really have many tools there. I save all my building for here at the apartment. So yeah, that's annoying. I really wanted to try that stuff. I'm sure it's good. I mean, it was designed for a specific purpose. I can't imagine that it's any worse than Silly Putty. So I would just snag it. And it shouldn't be that expensive, although they just sent it to me. It could be $100. I would have no idea, but I doubt it. To be honest, I can't imagine a world where it's not good, you know? It was specifically designed to keep the heat out, and that's like a really big deal. So if they did even a half decent job at that, then it's going to be better than the blue tack, because the blue tack or the fun tack, it gets really hot and it gets stringy and it just gets ugly. And you don't want it getting hot. Like it's when it gets hot like that, it's absorbing the heat coming through the wires, and that's not good. You want the heat to stay in. David M says, thoughts on the Rotor Riot solder free stuff? I think it's a great idea. This is the solder free ESC that Joshua blew up at Rampage. I think it's pretty cool. It's not for me. I don't think it's for you guys either. But it's pretty cool. Where, in my opinion, where it falls apart is that the motor wires just get the hell beaten out of them, and they get prop strikes and they get cut. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna buy a whole new ESC and put it in? No, you're gonna get the fucking soldering iron out. So it's I don't know. It's cool though. It's really cool. I can totally see it helping someone get up in the air, but then what? Which is, my whole philosophy is like custom build as early as possible to figure out if you're going to be able to survive in this hobby. And the whole like solder free stuff skirts that, right? And it gives you a way to get into the hobby without any willingness to build or repair, and that is a really good recipe for quitting the hobby. So I don't agree with it per se, but I do think it's very cool. And like if you're only ever gonna fly cinematic stuff, you'll probably be fine going that route, which is pretty slick. So yeah, for hardcore freestyle, it doesn't make any sense to me. But not everybody flies hardcore freestyle. and that's okay. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Let's get this motor yanked off of here, and then we will have completed some Rampage post-destruction fixing things. What color are these arm LEDs? Are they the green ones? They're the green ones. Why are they the green ones? Why did I put green on here? It's a strange choice. Milk was a bad choice! Brains Baked Bean says it's been hot here, and I'm retuning some filters for heat. I did something different, and it worked and felt smoother too. Stock sliders at 1.5x. And filtering. On both gyro and D-term single RPM harmonic. That's pretty cool. I've heard good things about the single RPM harmonic. Putting both of those sliders at 1.5, that's a lot of gyro filtering. And I guess that's about a normal amount of D-term filtering. That's interesting. All right, let's get this motor off of here. Why did I put green on here? If it weren't so much work, I would swap these green army LEDs out for a different color, but it's kind of a lot of work. Although maybe I can justify just removing one or two of them. No, I can't. It's fine. This will just be a green rig. This rig has all this red TPU and shit on it, though. It makes no sense for it to be the green rig. To have green LEDs, I should say. I think I can maybe justify switching just this one out, and then maybe when I put the 2104s on it, I can justify switching the rest of them out. Let's see what colors I've got. So these are the only arm LEDs that you're really going to be able to fit on a micro are these Flywoos. Let's see if the Logitech will focus. There you go. Flywoo 9x15. I put that blue mark on them so I know what color they are. Yeah, Flywoo arm LEDs, 9mm by 15mm. Yeah, these are the only ones that are going to take like 4S, 5S, 6S, but still be small enough for a little short micro arm. Do I have any more, or do I just have this other set of greens? Well, here's a couple. What are these? These are white, so I've got a set of whites as well. So I've got white, blue, and green. One of the rigs has red on it. Why the hell did I put green on here? That's not a normal choice for me. And I have another set of the greens, which is kind of weird. So I can put blue, or I can put white. Let's put a let's put white. Let's put white on this guy. Yeah, that'll be cool because then it'll have the white motors and it'll be all whited out. We're going for a total whiteout. See what I did there? Do you see what I did there? Cooled it down, didn't get much more prop wash, cruise was smoother too. Very cool, Brandon. I'm into that, man. You know I'm into that. Cool. Yeah, I'll swap this one out. That's not a terrible amount of work. And then I'll swap the other ones out when them motors come in. Okay. All right. Let's get this pried up off the board here. Hey, look at that. Alright, so let me put a little green marker mark on this guy, because otherwise I'll have no idea what color it is. Hold on a second. There's the green. Okay. Got that. All right. Sometimes you think you know what you're gonna say, but then it doesn't come to you. That's what she said. Okay, so here we are. I need a little bit of VHB for the bottom of this white one. Although actually, let's do... No, I'm just going to do one. I almost said let's do two, but then I was like, nah, too lazy for that. Put that green one right there. Extra bit of VHB on this for some reason. With these Flywoo arm LEDs, keep in mind that they put pads on the bottom and on the top. So when you put your VHB on here, make sure the VHB is the whole size, because if this, because carbon, the top layer of carbon is conductive. So if you put this on there and the VHB, there's not enough VHB on it, and it angles down, and these bottom pads touch the carbon, there's a chance that they'll jump. And that's not a situation that you want. So let's tin this up real quick, and then we'll zap it on. We'll get the new motor on there, and that'll pretty much do it for this live stream. But luckily we will have repaired one of the damaged rigs from Rampage all the way. And because I don't have the fourth F40 Pro 4 motor, I could not say that about the Rocinante. So, you know. Good things come in, I don't know. Okay. All right. And away we go. I always like to check the bottom to make sure not too much solder goes through that. Also, these pads have through holes, so don't just dump solder when you're tinning them, because you're going to dump solder down through the through hole, and there's no reason to do that. So just be a little bit mindful of that. You'll be fine. Kind of giving this another little once over for damage, because man, it took one hell of a bang at Rampage. Like look at the top of the back of the top plate there. Somehow that hit the ground. Like this thing slammed real hard, inverted, upside down, and backwards. The top plate is kind of broken, but I mean it really doesn't matter. It's not broken in a spot that will matter, to be completely honest. Okay, let's see if I can get these motor wires from the ESC soldered up without VHB on it. Okay, actually no. Let's I'm going to solder up the motor first, and then we'll put the motor on with this, VHB it down, and then we'll do those wires. That makes much more sense to do it that way. So I'm going to use the wire length on this motor that I'm taking off as a guide for the fresh motor, and that's why I'm going to be able to do this, but still keep everything perfectly neat and tidy, and not have too much or too little motor wire. Also, with the Cinesplore, you got to make sure that you don't put this thing too far inboard because it'll interfere with the way the duct comes down. So what I'm actually going to do is cut this motor's motor wires ever so slightly shorter than the one that's coming off, because on this rig I remember the motor wires were almost too long. Almost. So I'm just gonna, and I just kind of hold them together like this. Not a super precise way of doing it, but it's precise enough. Hold it like this, and then we're just gonna go a little shorter. Just like that. Some of these motor wires I save, the newbie drone ones I do not, because they're very, very thin. It's fine. Not putting a ton of juice through them, but it's just one of those things. So yeah, this motor is well, this stator is fine. So I'm gonna take the bell off, and I'm gonna save the stator. One of the things that Newbie Drone did that I absolutely love is that they used screws here to hold the motor bell onto the stator. And there we go. Whoopsie. Well, O-ring came off, that's alright. And alright. Good to go. This motor would be completely fine on like any kind of a freestyle rig. So at some point, I will more than likely be selling this set of motors. And so if you've got a freestyle rig that can use a set of 2004s, this set of motors will work really well for you. These will crank a 3.5-inch prop like a son of a bitch. They'll crank a 4-inch prop really well. They'll even crank a 4.5-inch prop. But yeah, 3.5-inch, 4-inch is really the sweet spot for a 2004. And I've been really impressed by these Newbie Drone Flow 2004s. Absolutely no complaints from me. All right, so there we go. What I do to designate like a bell that's kind of banged up but not totally like throw in the garbage. As I take the bell off, I put the screw and the washer in the bell like this, and then I just store it like this. And that way I know that the stator is good, and I know that the bell has some use, but it's not perfect. If it's totally ruined, I just throw the bell away and just keep the stator. But this is not totally ruined. This would be fine, like I said, on a less cinematic rig. Technically, it would have been fine on this rig if I just turned the PIDs down a little bit, but I don't want to sacrifice the PID loop performance, especially for a rig that's coming on actual paying gigs. So there's the full story for you. But yeah, in the meantime, this can just hang out and hopefully get used again by someone else, more than likely though. Although I don't know, maybe I'll put these motors onto the 250 after I obliterate the aero lights. We'll see. I'll put it in the motor box and it'll get used again at some point. Gudis is from the EU. Very cool, isn't it? I guess it's not late at night. Is it early in the morning there? Ooh, it's after 10. Look at us go. Let me just blast through this, and then I'm going to jump off, and I'll see you guys again on Friday. Friday, I'm thinking we're going to do some tiny whooping from Maggie's house, because I believe that I'll be there. Kind of depends on some shit with the house that we're currently figuring out, but should be okay. Closing date is supposed to be tomorrow, but it might get pushed. Kind of unbelievable how half-assed these realtors seem to be. Like all of a sudden at the last second, like all hell breaks loose. It's like, really? We've been going through this for months. Why is this shit hitting the fan 3 days before the closing? What's your deal, man? You had all this time. What were you doing? What are you doing? Okay, so I'm actually going to tin the exposed bits of wire. Sorry, I'm going to flux them. Of course I'm going to tin them. But I'm also going to flux them just to make sure that we get maximum heat transfer so that the solder gets all up in between the strands of wire. I don't usually do that on a freestyle rig, but on the cinematic rigs I really kind of do everything absolutely perfect so that they're as reliable as possible. There we go. There's one. There's two. There is flux inside the core of the solder, but adding that little bit extra is just, there's just no reason not to do it. It can only, it only helps, basically, is the easiest way to think about it. Resistors towards the front, resistors towards the rear, resistors towards the, so it's props out, so the prop strike is going to happen on the front side, so yeah, I'm going to leave that resistor like that. Alright, cool. So let's get the motor soldered up to the arm LED, and then we'll get that on the rig. Okay, there's one. I'm actually going to rework that first one. It's out on the very outside of the pad, and I don't necessarily love that. Kind of being pedantic if I'm honest, but again, cinematic rig is going to be flown around people. Some of these people have bank accounts that are worth more than I'll ever make in my entire life. So yeah, get it right the first time. And I mean, with a cinematic rig, right? Like I'm also okay putting the extra time in general, because like it's not going to get all banged up, right? Like you don't have that excuse of like, well, it's pointless to do this right because I'm just going to have to tear it apart in a week and when I rip this motor off of it. With a cinematic rig, it's like, yeah, I mean, this thing might never come apart, so getting it absolutely right the first time is kind of nice, because then you have something that's all pretty and fancy looking and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, this one is kind of like off kilter a little bit, but oh, this is me being totally insane. Fair warning. A little bit better. It's fine. A little bit better. Yeah, it's good. Alright, so let's get a big chunk of VHB on here. Alright, so the length is perfect. The width, I'm going to go right in before the M. Okay. And there. Alright. Kevin Sumner says, both times I got mortgages, I told the company up front I would need to move money to pay the down payment. Both times they flipped the F out when the money moved. So stressful. Yo, what's up, Dan? No notifications? Come on, check your email, homie. You're a beautiful patron. You got them emails coming in. I got this one on the Facebook group too. Yeah, YouTube's notifications are just worthless. It is wild how bad they are. So here you go. Here's what I mean. Make sure your VHB completely covers these little guys, so that it completely covers up those pads that are going to be on the bottom close to the conductive carbon. Know what I'm saying? All right, so now we're going to just bend this up and out of the way because we want to screw the motor down first. I'm going to clean this arm a little bit while I'm in here. Again, I'm not replacing this arm because I did the little bending, twisting test, and it just does not seem to be any weaker than the other arm. So I'm 99% sure that this arm is completely fine. So we're going to get the motor dropped on here. We're going to screw it down, and then we're going to put the VHB down on the arm, and then we'll zap those motor wires up, and that'll pretty much be it for this live stream, my friends. I'm putting this one in. You missed some good mental health rants earlier, Dan. Hey, speaking of healthy, the reason why I was kind of ranty about Healthy Gamer today is he's put out a couple really good videos this week, so check them out. The video that I just watched right before the stream that involves something that I've been working really hard on this year is called something like "Why Am I Not Good Enough?" or something like that. Really, really good one, and it's one of the shorter ones, so I definitely recommend checking that one out. I'm actually going to move this screw to the back because there's actually more of a chance of backing this thing in to something, and I want the motors to be strong in the rear rather than on the inside, so I'm going to do that down here as well. In theory, these screws have enough Loctite residue on them, and I don't have to re-Loctite them, but when you're doing a fresh build, just Loctite the motor screws because they deal with a lot of vibrations, and they will absolutely back out if you don't. All right, so now the motor is on. Now I can take this guy and drop it down with the VHB on it. And with the Cinesplore, when you do that, you want to grab one of the ducts and make sure that it's going to clear. So let me do that real quick. The HQ CiottiFPV ducts are the hardest. They have the smallest little pass-through in them. I actually opened the pass-through up with a pair of wire cutters. Dikes, whatever you'd like to call them. So yeah, there we go. That's fine. That one lines up, and that one lines up. So yeah, we're good. Cool. All right, so we're gonna solder the ESC wires up, and then we'll be good. Got to find a spot to kind of tuck them away so that they're not all up in the way here. Get out there. Get in there. There we go. Get up there. Get out of here. Come on. Get out of my way. I'll put it up in the battery strap. There we are. Okay. All right, so let's get in here with some extra flux. Drop these down and be good to go. You want the exposed part of the wire on the pad, of course, but then one of the little tricks that I like to do is to turn my soldering iron off so that when I need it, it's not at temperature. No, one of the tricks is to hang the silicone off the side of the PCB. That way the exposed bit of the wires can sit as flat as possible on the pad. If you don't do that, the exposed bit of wires will sit at like a diagonal on the pad, which is not the end of the world, it's just not as strong. All right, here we go. And when I'm doing these, I actually try to kind of feed them inwards a little tiny bit because the ducts sit so close. But yeah, it's just me being a crazy person. But you know what? I'm a crazy person with some clean ass builds, so blow me. All right, one more. And there you have it. Anybody remember Tipsy Bartender? It was a weird YouTube channel. It was around for a while. Take a quick look with a 5X loop. Everything's nice and shiny and smooth. Everything is nice and flat on the pads. Happy days are here at last. Let me just hit this first one real quick, just to make sure. Just want to make sure that this is... That's better. Cool. Good to go. Motor's screwed down. Oh, God. And, yeah, this thing should be good to go, even on that aggressive-ass cranked-up tune. I need to order another set of the CiottiFPV ducts for this guy. In the interim, I guess I will just leave it off. Maybe I'll put the... Maybe I'll put those 3.5s back on it. I don't know. But there we have it. This rig is good to go. Yeah, it'll be fine. I was going to say I'll plug it back in and spin the motors up, but I mean, it's not going to do you guys any good because you can't feel them. So yeah, this guy is back up and running. We'll, when the other motors show up for the Rossi, we'll rip that thing apart and get it going. But yeah, maybe we'll play with that next week. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll mess around with that next week. Thanks for hanging, friends. Friday at 7, we'll do some tiny whooping in one of the coolest houses ever to fly tiny whoops in. Other than that, have an awesome Thursday and Friday morning. CiottiFPV.com. Oh, Ruby Tim got his package. Very cool. CiottiFPV.com for a million ways you can support me and support yourself. Here comes some flying. Love you guys. I'm exhausted. Sometimes after these streams, I am just whooped. And this is one of them. Here's some flying at a little spot now, Alpharetta. Love you. Bye-bye. Just kidding. I got to restart OBS. Hold on. Be right back. It's going to pinwheel for a second. All right. Here's some flying. Love you guys. Bye-bye.